Hi everyone, I'm Steve Stoller.
And I'm Shannah Haley, and this is Inside Plano, where we take you behind the scenes of our city.
We'll introduce you to the faces and places who help make this a great place to live.
And give us lots of reasons to love Plano. Steve, it is May in Plano, and I sure do love this time of year. It's my favorite.
Hey, anything above 70 degrees is beautiful to me.
Exactly. I mean, the weather is perfect for going for a run in the morning or going for a nice walk in the evening, and you're not too hot, you're not too cold. It is just like Goldilocks. It is absolutely just right.
And you know what's really great about this time of year, Sean, is we start seeing a lot of really fun outdoor events pop up. We got
Mhm.
one coming up that we just started last year. This is going to be our second annual Salt the Rim. And obviously, when you talk about Salt the Rim, you're talking about margaritas. So tickets are $25. You try four different craft margaritas. You have a vote in the tasting contest. We'll have dancing, live music. It's so much fun. The date, Saturday, March 7th from 6:30 to 10:30 at McCall Plaza. And you got to be 21 years of age or older.
Yeah, that'll be a fun little end of the Cinco de Mayo experience. That sounds good. I might have to get a ticket for that. Have you
You
gone?
should.
Did
It's
you go to
fun.
that last year?
No, no,
Oh,
but I saw lots of pictures and I feel bad that I missed it, but not this year.
not this year. Well, you know what? This year, speaking of which, is super exciting because the first of several kind of big projects are opening up. So this May 15th specifically, Davis Library is reopening. The remodel and expansion is done. The 15th is actually a Sunday. And so the library will open at 1 o'clock. That's normal Sunday hours, but it's going to open with a lot of fun, ribbon cutting. So you don't want to miss that. And I can tell you on good authority, since I've been involved with the group that's working on it, there will be food, there will be activities for the whole family, a lot of fun games and bubbles because you can't go anywhere with the library and not have bubbles. And of course, you want to explore the new spaces and see what's happened because I can't even remember how many months it's been closed right now because they needed to be able to work a little more safely and keep visitors and staff, of course, safe. So they closed the doors to the public. So it is going to be great to have that library back available for everyone.
Shauna, this next event's an important one because it deals with senior health and wellness. We're holding a senior information and wellness fair that will be Monday, May 16th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Sam Johnson Rec Center. It's free. There'll be prizes, free fitness demos, and free health screenings. That's why it's so important.
Yeah, I have to say, although who knows, maybe our editor will edit this out, but I thought you were going to say that there were free fries, and that is also always a reason to go to an event. Anyway, speaking of events, this is actually just a really busy month. This one's a little more somber, but it's very popular, and I'm glad that we're going to be able to have the public come to it again. It's the Peace Officer Memorial Event. It will be Thursday, May 19th from 11 to noon. It's held here at City Hall. It'll actually be in the City Council chambers. And again, you are welcome to attend. We will be live streaming the event. So if you can't make it, because obviously it's in the middle of the day on a work day, school day, so it might be better for you to tune into the live stream. If you aren't familiar with this event, it is an opportunity when our law enforcement community honors the Texas police officers who made the ultimate sacrifice in service for the community. Sadly, there are 12 Texas peace officers who died in the line of duty, and they're all going to be remembered during this event. Obviously, our police department will be there, including our Chief Ed Drain, and other officials from the city of Plano, Collin County, representatives from police honor guards around the state, and the Plano firefighter pipes and drums. It's a wonderful event and very, very moving.
Solemn and powerful. And I always enjoy hearing the bagpipes, and they
Mhm.
usually have a 21 gun salute as well. So
Yeah.
if you can make it, definitely a good one to make. We have more of our very popular asphalt overlays that are coming soon. If you remember asphalt overlays, instead of spending much more money to repair a concrete pavement on a roadway, what they do is they repair the concrete and then they put a layer of asphalt. And anyone who drives in Plano knows that if you've been on one of these roads, it is incredibly smooth. I always refer to it as the magic carpet ride. So, as we said, it's an ultra thin overlay placed on top of the repaired, replaced concrete, extending the life of the road. The segment on Jupiter Road to Chaparral Road to Park was just completed. The new ones that are coming, Coit Road from Parker to State Highway 121, Plano Parkway from Preston Road west to Park Boulevard, and then Legacy Drive from Custer Road to US 75. So I know a lot of folks in the city are really looking forward to those because they make the driving so smooth and nice.
Yeah, those are actually my favorite roads to drive on. It's quiet too, like, you don't have any road noise. So great.
Yeah, you can really tell the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, the city budget can tell a difference too because it really does outperform. You just don't see pothole development, at the same speed as you do if it was just concrete. It's amazing. Well, there is something else about spring that I really love, and it has made life just very enjoyable. Our bluebonnets and wildflowers are all abloom, and it's just our Plano Parks and Recreation Department. They make spaces look so nice, and it makes your experience outside so wonderful. And our friends over there have put together a map of the best places in the city, in our parklands to go see wildflowers, specifically bluebonnets. There are four in particular. The well named and appropriately named in this case, Bluebonnet Trail, just off of Spring Creek Parkway and Custer Road. And they, by the way, are thick, 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 thick right there. That's not too far from where I live. It's intense. The right of way along Spring Creek at Oak Point Park and Nature Preserve by the Red Tail Pavilion. There are a lot of bluebonnets at the right of way along Parker Road at Arbor Hills Nature Preserve, and then at Legacy and Communications area near Legacy West. So those are all great places. Go take family photos, of course. Check your surroundings because critters do like living in those thick bluebonnets. So make sure you're safe. But beautiful place to take your spring family photos.
I just did a Stoller on the Street episode about those best places and went to all four locations, and they are blooming and they are beautiful.
Yes. Yes. And what's nice is when the bluebonnets kind of die off, you know, when their lifespan is over, we have a whole host of other wildflowers that sprout in the same area. So, you know, don't think just because bluebonnet season is over, maybe by the time you listen to this podcast, you're going to see all kinds of wonderful other Texas native wildflowers for probably until June, I would think, because they bloomed a little later this year. So it's really beautiful.
Sean, I was on Nextdoor this morning,
Mhm.
and a neighborhood that's very close to mine, someone had a post that they saw a coyote right in the middle of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it seems like this time of year, you see a little bit more wildlife. So we thought it might be important to tell people, what do you do if you see wildlife? You know, seeing a bobcat or a coyote obviously can be a little startling, but it's important to know these animals have never attacked a single person in Plano's history. Now, bobcats, they hunt only animals that are rabbit sized or smaller. Coyotes will sometimes take a larger prey, but a healthy adult poses no risk to humans. Now, pets, you do have to be concerned about your pets. Those that are bigger than a rabbit are usually not at risk from bobcats. But as we mentioned, coyotes may attack larger pets if given an opportunity. So, the best prevention, this is very important, toward keeping your pets safe, stay with them at all times if you're outdoors, remove outdoor food and water sources, and eliminate any potential sites for dens. The best course of action when seeing a bobcat or coyote is to scare them off. You can yell, you can throw a small rock towards them, spray them with a high powered squirt gun or a hose. Just make them feel uncomfortable. Children should always be taught to never approach or interact not only with any unknown animal, but even a pet if they
Mhm.
don't know the animal or wildlife. So, very important just to stay on guard and to use a little common sense when you see these animals. We can both coexist without really, you know, the old saying, if you don't bother them, they won't bother you.
Mhm.
In most cases, that's really true when it comes to wildlife.
Yeah, and the truth is, this wildlife has been here for a very long time, and they are essentially urban animals. And so it's you see coyotes in large urban areas too. So this is not unique to Plano. And I would add to that list of wildlife to just be aware of our hawks. We have some beautiful red-tailed hawks that call Plano home, and they also are predatory birds too. So you just want to make sure that you're careful and follow all of the tips that Steve just shared. And I thought it was interesting, Steve, that you mentioned, maintaining your property because that helps prevent wildlife from coming onto your property. And I think that that's really relevant because we have a really interesting special guest to talk about property related issues today.
Our special guest today is Scott Lucier, manager of our Property Standards Division, which is also part of Neighborhood Services. Scott, welcome to Inside Plano.
Thank you.
So we always like to start these interviews off by asking our guests to tell us something about themselves that we don't already know. So what is it about you?
I guess probably the most, I don't have a whole lot of interesting things. I guess probably the most interesting thing is I really enjoy cooking, and I like to brew my own beer.
Really?
Yeah.
We need to spend more time with Scott.
Sounds like it. Yeah. So let me ask you about the beer. How long does it take? Do you have to age it until it's ready to drink?
It depends on the kind of beer. Some beers are fairly quick. I've got a German Hefeweizen that from start to finish is about 2 weeks. Others, like I've got a watermelon wheat that uses real watermelon, and because it's such a soft flavor type fruit, that one takes about a month to 6 weeks in order to get it finalized.
Shannah, we could do a whole episode of Inside Plano on beer.
Exactly. We could have Scott give his recipes and then have environmental health services talk about all the cottage food laws that allow that to happen.
Well, that
right?
sounds great. I never knew Scott was a brewmaster. See, so we learned something
Either.
today. Well, Scott, let's talk a little bit about property standards. What does the Property Standards Division oversee?
Property Standards is responsible for ensuring that our residential and business properties within Plano are in compliance with the adopted city codes related to property maintenance and land use.
Well, okay, so land use. Explain for people. We did talk about zoning last month, but land use is related to zoning, yes?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
All right,
Uh,
so that's interesting. So the land use zoning, it doesn't just say what kind of building can be built. It sounds like there are other guidelines that are associated with that. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's specific uses that are allowed in certain areas of the city. There are certain requirements for when a property is developed, as far as open storage requirements, screening requirements, dumpster enclosure requirements, and all of those fall under the zoning ordinance.
Fascinating. So, gosh, Steve, there's a lot more to zoning than we dug into. We might have to bring Scott and Christina back to talk more about all of those issues and how they relate. But, Scott, I think a lot of people have a misconception about property standards, that you're there just writing tickets. But there are a lot of reasons why we should care about property standards. And would you mind maybe talking a little bit about that, why it matters to everybody?
Oh, sure. Most things in life require regular property maintenance and upkeep in order to keep them in good condition and working properly. Our residential neighborhoods and business communities are no different. Properties require a lot of regular maintenance, from mowing the grass, cutting tree limbs so that they don't grow out into public right of ways, to disposing trash and refuse that we create. Also, the structures that are located on our properties that we build, these structures also require a lot of regular maintenance and upkeep. And Texas isn't the most hospitable environment for structures. We've got a lot of extreme weather, from really, really hot weather to most recently really, really cold weather. And our soils like to move a lot. When we get a lot of rain or when we get a lot of heat, they'll expand and contract. And this can cause a lot of wear and tear on our structures. And the property maintenance that we look at for structures is to try to make sure that they're being monitored and checked, so that minor issues such as chipped and peeling paint get repaired, so that they don't get more worse and end up into wood rot or structural issues. Property standards focus is on ensuring that our neighborhoods and our community, our commercial districts are safe, healthy, and vibrant places to work and live.
Scott, what if somebody lives in a multi-family dwelling? Can property standards help them with their issues?
Oh, most definitely. If a tenant has a concern related to a property maintenance issue, either in their unit or at the property, all they've got to do is reach out to us. The inspector for that area will go and do an inspection. If we do find a violation, we'll make contact with the property management company and work with them to get the issue resolved in as timely a manner as possible.
It's awesome. So last year you were talking about, we had really, really cold weather, and we know that there was a ton of damage in the city because of that weather, particularly to our trees. And I remember last year, I think we spent some time talking to you. We talked to our urban forester about all of the letters that went out to property owners, and it feels like it was thousands and thousands of letters that went out. And the goal wasn't really to tell people that they were going to be fined because their trees were dead.
Yeah.
So what's the goal of sending out letters like that?
Our goal is always compliance. We understand that everyone has busy lives, and sometimes we forget or don't have enough hours in the days to get the things done that we need to get done. We focus on partnering with our residents and property owners and business owners to work towards gaining compliance. We often provide extensions when necessary. We have a number of assistance programs that are focused on assisting with compliance for those property owners and occupants who are in need of assistance. The last thing we want to do is to take someone to court. Unfortunately, sometimes that's the only alternative that we have left.
Scott, what are the most common violations that you see in property standards?
Our violations are kind of seasonal a little bit, but the most common ones that we run across, of course, are high grass and weeds, low tree limbs over the public right-of-ways, and accumulation of trash and debris. And then we also run into issues with structures, like I said earlier, chipped and peeling paint, and then exterior wood rot.
Well, it is May. Like you said, the seasons are changing. I noticed it was like overnight, my yard went from brown to green and the trees are leafing out. So, what are some of those seasonal things that we really need to focus on now that we're in late spring and looking towards summer?
All right. Like you said, everything is growing. I recently went on vacation and everything was brown. I came back and everything's green and growing again. Right now, and everybody's go into the home improvement stores to get flowers and so forth and fix up their yards. And that's kind of where the emphasis needs to be right now, is outside. As I said earlier, high grass and weeds, making sure that your grass is mowed on a regular basis. Once it reaches 12 inches, it's in violation and it can harbor rodents, snakes. It also creates an environment where mosquitoes can live because the moisture stays in the grass. Tree limbs should be trimming tree limbs over the street because they're now starting to grow out. Should also be looking at the exterior of their properties. Houses, specifically houses and businesses, they just went through a pretty rough winter. Making sure the caulking around the windows is good. Also checking your rain gutters to make sure that any leaf accumulation is removed so that they're working properly. And then we recently had a lot of high winds. And checking your roof, making sure that the shingles are still in place, that you don't have any ripped off or any that are broken or damaged.
Is there anything else you'd like our Plano residents to know about property standards?
Just that we have the same goal in mind as all of our residents and all of our business owners, and that's to make Plano the best place to live and work in the nation, and that we're here to work with our residents and business owners to make the community safe and healthy.
And Shannah, I've got to point out something else about Scott that we didn't know. See right behind him, above his head, there looks like there's a New England Patriots logo up there.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
We might have to edit that out of the video version of the podcast.
As long as you don't put any other team up there, I'm good with it.
All right. Hey, Scott, thanks for joining us. Scott Lucier, our manager of our Property Standards Division. Appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, that was a great conversation with Scott. And one thing we didn't ask him about, but I'm sure he would want people to know, Neighborhood Services, specifically the Property Standards Group, they offer workshops where they teach you how to do some of that property maintenance yourself so you can feel confident. If you don't have that skill set or you don't want to hire out and you do want to try to maintain that, they have those year round, and they're great classes. So it makes you feel good knowing how to take care of your property. So, Steve, I don't think we can let this month go by without noting that there's a very special anniversary happening in May.
Right.
Do you know what it is?
I do. It's one of our best venues in Plano.
That's right. It is the 20th anniversary of our beautiful Courtyard Theater. 321 seat theater. We've used it for many, many events over the years, including TEDx Plano. It's a great space. And it actually was originally the gymnasium for Plano's Cox High School. A lot of people don't realize that. It was built in 1938. And so it's a pretty significant building in Plano's history. And I'm so glad that years ago, our city leadership decided to repurpose it, and they've repurposed it into a state-of-the-art, beautiful theater. And it's just hard to believe that it's already 20 years old. I remember when it opened, which says something about how long I've lived in Plano.
And we were looking at some old video yesterday of when it was built. It was pretty incredible. When they built it, they pretty much just left the exterior walls of the gym standing, and then they redid the entire structure inside and the roof. Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see those old pictures.
Yeah, it's awesome. Really
So
is.
summer learning kicks off on Saturday, June 4th. And speaking of summer, it's also time to register for summer activities with Plano Parks and Recreation. Shannah, you probably got the book, the big thick
did.
book with all the activities that you can register for. They send it out to all the residences in Plano. You get yours?
I did
Yeah,
get
we
it,
did
and
too.
flipped
So
through and looked at the cool courses.
it's just hard to believe we're talking about summer already, and it's right around the corner.
I know, but speaking of things going by, I mean, here we are in episode 52 of the podcast, and we're going to be talking in episode 53, I'm sure, about all of the things happening in summer in Plano. And if May is any judge of what it's going to look like, I have a feeling you and I are going to be very busy in June, don't you think?
Yes, and that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Well, this does bring us to the end of yet another episode of Inside Plano. It's hard to believe that we've been doing it this long and that we have such a great, loyal group of listeners. As always, we ask you to leave a rating or a review. Helps other people find the show. And if you have questions, please email them to us at askplano@plano.gov. We love to dig into that mailbox and answer questions in shows. In fact, one of our earlier shows this year, that's all we did was answer questions that you have emailed to us, and we'd love to do that again. But until then, we look forward to talking to all of you next month and hopefully seeing you at one of the fun events happening this month in Plano. Talk to you later.
Bye, everybody. See you soon.
And that's it for our Inside Plano. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did doing it.
If you have any comments or suggestions, send them to us at askplano@plano.gov. Bye.
Talk to you next month. The Inside Plano podcast is brought to you by the City of Plano.